Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan Elrom.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, the United States Embassy has been inaugurated and now resides in Israel's capital, Jerusalem. Dignitaries from all over the world came up to the City of Light and Gold to participate in the historic event. 23 years after Congress approved the Jerusalem Embassy Act, Donald Trump became the first president to keep his commitment to move the embassy to the Holy City. Israeli and American leaders praised Trump for his courage in keeping his promise. Unfortunately, several countries capitulated to Arab pressure to boycott the event and chose not to participate in the festivities. Erin has more on that story.
That's right, Yochanan. As the United States and Israel celebrated the opening of the American embassy in Jerusalem, several European countries bashed the decision and boycotted the celebrations. Representatives from France, the Netherlands, Ireland, and Turkey all voiced their opposition publicly. The British Prime Minister stated that she disagreed with President Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital and said that Britain would not be moving its embassy. Dozens of European envoys boycotted the Israeli Foreign Ministry's celebration after a senior Palestinian official called on foreign diplomats to stay away from the embassy celebrations so as not to endorse what he called Washington's flagrant violations of international law.
Hamas is responsible for the recent deaths in Gaza. More than 40,000 angry Arabs rioted on Israel's border last week, burning tires, flying kite bombs into the Jewish state, and attempting to infiltrate the separation fence. A spokesman for the Israel Defense Forces explained that Hamas bribed destitute Gazans with $100 for each family that participated in the riots. Anyone who refused to take part was accused of collaborating with Israel. The IDF confirmed that Hamas deployed 12 separate terror cells to breach the border at different spots simultaneously in an attempt to confront and kidnap IDF soldiers. Several nations came out against Israel, condemning it for the deaths of Palestinian terrorists and those they used as human shields. However, Washington insisted that the responsibility for the violence in Gaza rests solely with Hamas. The White House Deputy Press Secretary said, Hamas is intentionally and cynically provoking this response, and Israel has the right to defend itself.
The Palestinian Authority is furious after a proposal for the European Union to condemn the United States for relocating its embassy to Jerusalem failed. The resolution, proposed by France, aimed to unify European nations against the recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital and condemned the United States for relocating its embassy to Jerusalem. The PA singled out Romania, Hungary, and the Czech Republic and accused them of blocking the resolution. It released a statement saying that Budapest, Bucharest, and Prague would suffer the consequences. The PA also threatened to take legal action against any other countries that decide to move their embassies to Jerusalem.
Bahrain backs Israel. Many were surprised and shocked when a top official from the Islamic Kingdom of Bahrain came out in support of the Jewish state. The country's foreign minister, Khalid bin Ahmed Al Khalifa, said as long as Iran has breached the status quo in the region and invaded countries with its forces and missiles, any state in the Middle East, including Israel, is entitled to defend itself by destroying sources of danger. Observers believe Bahrain has realized that it shares a common enemy with Israel. The tiny Gulf country has been infiltrated by Iranian-trained Shiite fighters who have attempted to destabilize the monarchy. The declaration is viewed as significant. The Beirut Daily Star reported that this statement of support for the Israeli airstrikes on Iranian targets in Syria marks a rare, if not unprecedented, public stance by an Arab government.
6 individuals and 3 companies have become the first to face the wrath of President Trump's promised sanctions after withdrawing from the Iranian nuclear deal. The United States Treasury has imposed sanctions against the parties for funneling millions of dollars to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard's elite Quds Force. U.S. Secretary of Treasury Steven Mnuchin said that the Iranian regime and its central bank have abused access to entities in the United Arab Emirates to acquire U.S. dollars to fund the Quds Force's malign activities, including to fund and arm its regional proxy groups by concealing the purpose for which the U.S. dollars were acquired. In 2015, Reuters news agency reported that over $1 billion had been smuggled into the Islamic Republic by passing through front companies in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, and Iraq.
Lebanon is now under the complete control of Hezbollah. The country recently held elections, and the outcome has left the Iranian-backed terrorist organization in power. Israel's Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman lamented that Hezbollah has, in essence, completed its takeover of Lebanon. He explained that Hezbollah's victory created a new reality on Israel's northern border, in which Lebanese soldiers take direct orders from Hezbollah and its terrorist leader, Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah.
5 people were stabbed in France last week by an assailant shouting in Arabic. French authorities intervened immediately, neutralizing the attacker outside the Opera House in downtown Paris. This is the latest in a series of troubling attacks in the French capital, and a Parisian lawmaker said that his country is experiencing a knife intifada. Mayor Habib, a member of the French National Assembly, said that it's coming down to either radical Islam or us.
The IDF has announced that it located and destroyed another Hamas terror tunnel. That's the 9th one this year. The subterranean passageway came within just a few meters of Israeli territory near a Jewish community. A spokesman for the Israeli Defense Forces said that the Army has increased its efforts to locate these attack tunnels by using advanced technology. He stressed that the detection of the passageway and its demolition is part of the ongoing effort to thwart underground terror and smuggling by Hamas.
Israel's largest soccer club has been renamed after President Trump. Beitar Jerusalem is one of Israel's top soccer clubs and is currently in second place in the Premier League. The team announced last week that it has decided to change its name in honor of President Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital and move the U.S. embassy there. The club announced this decision on Facebook, saying that President Trump has shown courage and true love for the Israeli people by recognizing Jerusalem, and that Beitar Jerusalem, one of the most prominent symbols of the city, is happy to honor the president for his love and support by renaming the team Beitar Trump Jerusalem.
U.S. President Donald Trump has signed legislation that will assist Holocaust survivors in getting compensation for assets stolen by the Nazis. The Justice for Uncompensated Survivors Today Act requires the State Department to report on measures that countries have taken to repay survivors and their heirs, and to report on which countries have not cooperated with the program. Polish officials expressed their opposition to the measure and said that Warsaw was being singled out by the new law. Poland was home to the genocide of Europe's largest Jewish community, and it remains the only country in Europe that still has not passed legislation to recompense victims of the Holocaust. Several Jewish groups praised President Trump and said the law will help Holocaust survivors to get justice.
Israeli archaeologists have discovered new passages of the Dead Sea Scrolls by using NASA technology. The Israel Antiquities Authority is working to digitize previously unseen fragments of the Qumran parchments that were thought to be blank or too damaged to display. In the process, they applied the use of high-resolution imaging technology developed by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. One of the passages uncovered is from the Temple Scroll. It details the rituals and practices of the Jewish temple service. Another fragment is a portion of Psalms 147.
Israeli competitor Neda Barzilai has won the Eurovision Song Contest despite a vicious boycott campaign against her and the Jewish state. This is Israel's first win since 1998, and the victory gives Jerusalem the right to host the popular contest next year. Eurovision has evolved into a huge musical production that includes dozens of contestants with tens of thousands of fans and a global audience of 200 million people who watch the competition on television. The city of Jerusalem is abuzz with excitement about hosting the event, and Neda Barzilai says that she looks forward to showing the world how wonderful Israelis are.
The United States Congress and the Israeli Knesset hosted Christian leaders to celebrate Israeli Independence Day and the relocation of the U.S. and Guatemalan embassies to Jerusalem. In Israel, the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus hosted Christian and Jewish leaders who came to the Holy City to celebrate this momentous occasion. On Capitol Hill, the Congressional Israel Allies Caucus, together with the International Christian Embassy, hosted 350 participants from 40 nations to celebrate the embassy's move, Israel's 70th Independence Day, and 51 years since the reunification of Jerusalem under Israeli sovereignty. Josh Reinstein, the president of the Israel Allies Foundation, said that the moving of the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem is the greatest victory for faith-based diplomacy the world has ever seen, and that this brave decision by President Trump is a direct result of millions of Christians in America taking their biblical support and turning it into real political action.
A prominent Ukrainian rabbi has written a prayer for U.S. President Donald Trump. Rabbi Moshe Osman, one of the chief rabbis of Ukraine, has declared that Jews in his community should say an additional prayer for the success of the American leader. The prayer says, "May he who blessed our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who paved the way through the sea and in the mighty waters of Netivah, he will bless and raise the President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump, who, with God's help, will do everything possible to protect the land of Israel and the United States of America. Let the luck be in his actions, and let the peace be among the nations." And we will say, Amen.
That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein, and we're here on a beautiful sunny day in Jerusalem on our rooftop studio. My guest today is Avir Nasi. He's the owner of the Oil Press Art Gallery. Avir, thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure, sir.
Avir, you were the first family to actually open up a store in the old city of Jerusalem. Can you tell us a little about the history of that?
You know, when I opened my art gallery in the Jewish Quarter, people want to hospitalize me in a lunatic hospital because they said, "What, you crazy? They're going to give back Jerusalem to the Arabs, to Jordan." So my father, that he was born in Jerusalem in 1900, I mean 118 years ago, he said to me, "Abir, you have to buy an art gallery in the old city because you're going to open a business in the center of the world."
It's amazing that you've actually been there since 1967, since the reunification of the city of Israel. What are some of the things that you actually saw with your own eyes during that time?
I tell you, I mean, now that I'm getting older, I think that I have to write a book because I was in the first Intifada, the second Intifada. I mean, I saw things that are unbelievable. People got knives and got stabbed by knives in the old city. And I am the first Jewish store after the Muslim Quarter. So everything happened in the Muslim Quarter. The first who got hit, I used to receive him and to help him.
Wow.
So it was a nightmare. I used to walk with a gun, but not anymore. Today, thank God, our forces taking care of the security in the old city.
Abir, something that's amazing is that you're not just a store owner, but you became quite famous for being there for that time. Jews and Christians from around the world come to the old city, specifically to your store. How have you been able to develop these relationships?
My father taught me something very, very simple, and this is my philosophy for the rest of my life. I'm going to carry it with me. He taught me that. He used to clap hands. He used to say, "Abir, remember one thing, from both hands you hear the noise. One hand blowing a wind. When you give respect and you understand the people who come to visit in the old city, in the Jewish Quarter, and you give the attention, so you become famous. I mean, this is the both ends. You're nice, they're nice to you. Very simple."
Something that you've been able to do is, since you've been such a successful businessman, is you actually give back to the community as well. You're working very hard to build relations between Jews and Christians in Israel. Why is that an important issue to you?
I tell you, I'm like 45 years in the Jewish Quarter. I have to tell you that years ago, it was very difficult for me that Christians loving the Jewish people. And years later, I start to understand that there is something about it, and today I understand that they really loves us. And this is something very, very important for me as a Jewish man. You know, if we look along the history of the Jewish people, people didn't like us. I don't know why, but today you see Christian people loving the Jewish people and supporting us. And this is, if you look along the history of the Jewish people, it never happened. And that's why I'm so excited. And today all the hotels and all the business and everything filled by evangelist Christians who come to Jerusalem and they believe in Jerusalem, they support us. And for me, this is something unbelievable. And if they love me so much, it's again the second hand. So I'm giving back. They give us, we give back. And this is something, the friendship today between the Christian and the Jewish people, it's unbelievable.
Abir, you know, you've been here, as you mentioned, since '67 in Jerusalem, and this year, finally, America is recognizing Jerusalem as the undivided capital of Israel. What does that mean to you?
First of all, hallelujah. Hallelujah. This is my dream. This is something unbelievable that President Trump took action. It's about time. I am, as a soldier, I can tell you one thing. In the Roman Empire, the Romans used to go with the forces and conquered countries. Today, America is sending money to Israel, but I'm telling you, as a soldier that fought 3 wars in this country, we gave a lot of information to the Americans. They send us the money. Unfortunately, we give the blood. We don't need American forces over here because we give all the information and we are joint forces with the Americans. And I don't know if it's a secret, but I'm telling you, when I was in the Sinai Desert, when we used to get something that was important intelligence-wise, the CIA used to be 24 hours later, and they saw all the product that we got from the Egyptians. And this is about time that America took action, and I'm blessed President Trump for taking action and to move the embassy. It's about time.
The Nasi family is a very famous family in Israel. Your father is basically a legend. Can you tell us a little about his history?
My father was born in Jerusalem, 1900. For my father's side, I'm 4th generation in Jerusalem. My father used to be the deputy mayor of Jerusalem. And if you take my mother was born in Uzbekistan, 1927. My mother was 12 years old. My mother walked with her family from Uzbekistan to Jerusalem by foot. If I'll tell you the story about my family, you're going to freak out. So this is only little details. She walked from Uzbekistan to Jerusalem. 12 years old, took them a year and a half to come to Jerusalem.
Wow.
This is something unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Abir, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
I have to tell you one thing, you know, a simple question I want to ask the audience, I mean your people. Why the Jewish people spread all over the world? Why you find Jewish people in Poland, in Hungary, everywhere in the world? The answer is 2,000 years ago, all the Jewish people used to be here in this country. The Roman Empire came, destroyed Jerusalem. They took the rest as slaves to Europe. When the empire fell, the Jewish people started to find ways and to find living. That's why we are all over the world. And after 2,000 years, we are back in Israel. We are celebrating the 70th anniversary of the Jewish state. And thank God that we can support ourselves. The technology here is unbelievable. And thank God that we have America supporting us.
Thank you, Abir, for being on the show. And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
Up next, the return to Zion with Karen Hayesod.
Shalom and welcome to the Return to Zion with Karen Hayesod. I'm Eliezer Moody Sandberg, World Chairman of Karen Hayesod, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. This week, we will learn about the righteous among the Gentiles. Throughout Israel's modern history, many Christians have risked their lives and the lives of their families to defend the Jewish people and God's covenant with Israel.
As the Nazis ruthlessly set about their demonic plan to eradicate the Jewish people, Europe became an accomplice to humanity's darkest hour. While the Nazi gas chambers and killing fields extinguished the lives of 6 million Jews, Europeans overwhelmingly turned a blind eye to the horror unfolding, or worse, became accessories to genocide. God's compassion appeared to have abandoned Europe, an entire continent devoid of humanity. Yet a handful of people refused to forget the Bible's teaching in Genesis 1:27. God created man in His own image. Unimaginably risking their own lives, these people demonstrated that even in Europe's sea of darkness, human kindness and mercy can shine through. Seeking nothing in return, these Christians jeopardized everything in order to save Jews from facing certain death. Often hiding entire Jewish families for months, sometimes years, they lived in constant fear of discovery and cruel retribution at the hands of the Nazis.
Et quand moi j'allais pleurer, si je puis dire, pour qu'on prenne les enfants, et quand je racontais ce qui s'y passait, qu'on arrachait les gens de leur maison, on lançait leurs vêtements par la cage d'escalier, on les emmenait par camion à Malines.
In appreciation of their remarkable deeds, these angels on earth have been honored by Israel as the righteous among the nations. Exactly how many Jewish lives were saved by these brave individuals, we don't know, but they joined the hundreds of thousands of Holocaust survivors that Keren HaYesod supporters helped extricate from Europe's inferno to reach Israel. They came from 51 countries, from all churches, from all walks of life, from remote farms, city slums, universities, high society, and beyond. They were bound by just one thing, the determination to preserve humanity in the face of all evil. Some of their stories are well known, the likes of Oskar Schindler and Raoul Wallenberg, but lesser known heroes too, such as Adolf Althoff, Father Hubert Solis, and Leopold Socha, showed the same unimaginable courage. All carried a bright torch of humanity in a Europe enveloped by moral darkness. Avraham Savion was just 9 years old when the war broke out. At the age of 12, he was taken in by a Christian family who risked their lives and the lives of their children to save this one Jewish boy. When word got out that they were hiding a Jew, they arranged for Avraham to be taken in by a church where other Jewish boys were hiding out as well. There, they provided for his every need until he was reunited with his relatives.
ז'אן דלין, הוא היה נסיך בלגיה, והוא הציל ילדים ממוות בטוח. ואחרי שעברתי כמה מקומות הסתר, פגשתי אותו פעם ראשונה בכנסייה בתוך הטירה. הייתה כנסייה פרטית שלו, שהכומר החליט לקחת אותי ולשים אותו נער כנסייה, זאת אומרת. אני עוזר, הולך אחרי הכומר, מחזיק לו את הגלימה, מחזיק לו את הנר, או דברים כאלה. משרת אותו בזמן שהוא עורך את התפילה. חסידי אומות העולם הצילו אותנו. אלו והנזירות והמורות וכולם הצילה אותי במיוחד. הגעתי למקום מנוחה אחרי מרדפים שנרדפתי כל הזמן. הם החיו אותנו, נתנו לנו חיים חדשים.
The righteous among the nations helped fulfill the divine wish to restore the people of Israel to their land. The descendants of those saved today number in the millions, building their lives in the Jewish state with the help of Keren HaYesod. Today, 70 years after the Holocaust, too many Jews still remain in distress and danger in perilous corners of the globe. Now is our opportunity to continue the legacy of the righteous among the nations, by assisting in the rescue of these Jews to make a new life in the land of their forefathers.
Let's bless Israel together.
To donate and get information, call us at 1-800-505-1665 or visit our website at www.khisrael.org.
In the 70 years since Israel's creation, relations between the State of Israel and moderate Sunni Arab states such as Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates have never, ever been closer. We agree on Hamas. We agree on Assad in Syria. We agree on the Muslim Brotherhood. We agree on ISIS. And above all, especially, we agree on Iran. Now, these are countries that have traditionally been in a state of war with the State of Israel. Their armies participated in battles against Israel, attempts to destroy us in 1948, in 1967, and even in 1963. And yet, in recent years, quietly behind the scenes, these same countries have been supporting us in our struggle with Hezbollah and our repeated battles with Hamas in Gaza. These countries have been with us. Ironically, over the course of the previous American administration, where there was an attempt to bring Israel and these Arab countries closer through peace, we were brought closer together, but not through peace. We were brought closer together, again, ironically, through common opposition to America's policies in the Middle East, particularly toward Iran. Iran threatens all of these regimes existentially. Iran threatens Israel's existence. And that creates a tremendous confluence of interest between us and these regimes. And this alliance has grown so strong in recent years that Arab states have come to see Israel not as an enemy, but actually as an ally, as we face common enemies and stand up for common interests. Our hope is that someday this alliance will become more public, more open, and that Israel can benefit greatly from the union of Arab capital, and these are the wealthiest countries in the world, with Israeli innovation. That can prove transformative, not just for the entire Middle East, but for the whole world.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.